Hey everyone, welcome to my review of the first episode in the anime series Street Fighter 2 V. Now, as you're looking at this, there's a box right here. I'm actually on the other side of this box. You might be able to look to the right there and see my little bit of a blue shirt there. I wanted to focus more the attention on this box art instead of myself, so you can have some sort of visual of what you have something to look at besides myself, and I'll just kind of be here on the side talking. And the biggest thing for that is because I am not using any footage from the show due to YouTube's copyright. They're kind of really particular in what you put on here, and I've seen some stuff from Manga Entertainment, which is who distributes and makes these DVDs. They're pretty picky on that kind of stuff, so I'm going to try and leave that out, but I didn't want you guys just to have to look at me, so I decided I would do this kind of setup here. This is just one of the first of many reviews for Street Fighter stuff like this. I'm going to try and improve these as I get going along. So I hope you all enjoy what's to come for these episode reviews. So to start off, I want to just talk completely right now to start off with the intro. I'm going to go ahead and talk about the intro real quick, because in some anime, they don't usually show the intro in the pilot episode. A lot of times they wait till the second episode. Not all anime does this, but some do. And it's really nice to see that this one starts off with the opening. So you see a variety of cast of characters when you first see this opening. And so you basically get a good gist of who's going to be in the show and who isn't going to be in the show, kinda, sort of. And but it doesn't really spoil anything. It just shows these characters that are going to be in the show. Now, after that plays, it also plays during the credits as well, but I believe they take out like a drumming section or something. It's an instrumental, but it's got a piece of like instrument missing. But both of them sound really good. There are videos on YouTube if you want to see the intro, and I believe the credits are probably there too, I'm sure. So yeah, if you want to check those out, they're awesome. And watching them on YouTube probably won't even do them justice, because YouTube, you know how it is. But anyway, I wanted to go ahead and start off this review of this episode. So this is episode 1. This is a really good episode. It shows the characters off, like Ken and Ryu. It doesn't show every character off, which is actually a good thing. You know, I would hate to see a whole bunch of characters get shown off and not be given any depth, really, to the characters. So it's really nice to see in this first episode, you know, Ken and Ryu really show how their characters are and how their characters can develop. So the episode starts off, and it has Ryu flying in a plane to America, and he just says, you know, I'm here to visit my long-lost friend Ken, you know, who I trained with as a young student, you know, and he walks, you know, through the airport, and then he's coming down the escalator, and you see your first shot of Ryu. Ryu doesn't have his headband in this one. A lot of the characters, you'll see a lot of changes compared to their game counterpart. And I wouldn't necessarily consider all of the stuff that happens in this show part of the story, but I like to look at it that way, kind of. It just gives a really nice, a good structured story for what really kind of is lacking in the Street Fighter games. A lot of fighting games don't have too big of a depth in their fighting games stories, so but this one is really a great series to watch. And so you see Ryu, you know, he looks a little different, doesn't have the red headband, his hair's kind of spiked in the front, and you see him standing there, and he's just kind of looking around, you know. This is America, you know, and he's from Japan. And the episode kind of does a flashback and a flash forward, you know, to present time in the past, and showing how he got to America. So it shows him, you know, back in Japan, doing just various chores and things like that. And then all of a sudden, this tree is getting ready to come down, and it's really cool because this old guy who's chopping this tree down or whatever, it then falls down, and Ryu's standing there, and he's like, "Oh Christ, I think I killed him," and it's like, whoa, you hear this language coming out, and it's some of the first sets of dialogue in the show, which is really cool. I like how this show doesn't really have any restraints on what it wants to say or anything like that. And Ryu has this kind of joking character here in this show, and he's like, "Oh, I'm okay," and he's like, "Oh, damn, you about scared me," or whatever, And later down the episode, it shows Ryu working out, doing chores and things like that. And then this girl comes by from these boat docks to give a letter to Ryu, and he's doing whatever, and then she hands him this letter and all that, and she goes, "Oh, is it from your girlfriend?" And he's like, "No, it's from my friend." And she goes, "Couldn't you imagine it being some beach blonde or whatever?" And he goes, "I can't see my friend at a beach, and he doesn't have blonde hair. He actually has red hair." He says he has red hair and he doesn't like beaches or something. And what's cool about that is the fact that it shows that Ken isn't going to have blonde hair. It kind of makes the reference that he has blonde hair in the games, but he doesn't have blonde hair in the show, which is kind of funny. So after that, he doesn't open the letter. He just sees that the front of it is addressed to him and from Ken Masters. And so she goes, "Well, come on, stop doing these chores and let's eat." So they go and they eat, and Ryu hasn't opened his letter yet, and so she's like, "Hey, you haven't opened your letter." So he opens it, and he's like, "Oh, okay, I'll open the letter." He opens the letter and sees that it's from Ken. He goes, "I miss seeing you, and I think we should meet up." And really, he just writes, "We should meet up, Ken. I've sent you some money," and he sends him a couple $100. And then Ryu gets on a plane and flies to America to meet Ken. And as it shows another flash forward, and Ken is sitting there, not Ken, excuse me, Ryu is sitting there looking around for Ken, and then he just hears this sound. He goes, "Hey," and then all of a sudden he greets Ryu with this punch, and the punch is from Ken. And it's really cool because Ryu stops it, and it's the best way to greet someone if you're both in martial arts and all that. So I think that's pretty cool. So later down the road, they go back to his house. He first walks up out of the airport and sees that there's a limo. So that Ken Masters is a rich kid. That's how he gives him the money to go out and fly over here and all that. And he ends up having this limo. He says, "Oh, this is a cool car," and "Oh, it's my dad's style," and they keep riding along, and they end up getting to the house, and all these people greet him. This shows how huge the house is, and then they go inside, and Ryu's getting ready to relax, and Ken goes, "Yeah, this is my room. Your room's in the other, in the other room of the house. If you want to stay there, and if you want to go ahead and take a shower, from your long trip, you can." And he's like, "Oh, okay," And before that, he actually looks around in his room and sees a lot of trophies and says, "Man, look at all those trophies." And he's like, "Yeah, I've won a few of them. Nothing special." And it's really cool. And then he goes, "I don't fight guys like you." And it kind of sparks in Ken's mind, to show Ryu, before he gets settled down and everything, that he wants to show him, this dojo that he built in his backyard that's a replica of where they used to train as kids. And it's got this it's this text. I don't know if it's Japanese text or what, but it's some sort of Asian text on this banner or some sort of sign, I guess, up above the door, and it says, "The right path is my path," I think is what it says. And he looks inside, and Then they have Ryu or Ken or somebody has a flashback of when they used to, train and fight each other. And Ken puts on his red suit and throws Ryu, this white suit and says, "Hey, you still got it in ya," and they do some brawling and all that. And then they eat dinner with Ken's family, and Ken's mom is like half Japanese apparently, and they really animate her really different. It's really cool. They animate her little facial features and stuff a little bit different, which is kind of interesting, and which is really cool. It's something I'll probably note later on the nationality of everyone and how they look. It looks really cool how they, draw and animate different cultured people. So then, Ryu flops down on the bed and is like, "Oh, I'm stuffed," and he just wants to kind of relax. And Ken says, "Hey, we're gonna, party. We'll show you how we party here in America." And so Ken hops on his motorcycle and Ryu hops on with him. And they're driving down, just taking a nice drive, a nice night drive. And these Air Force people come up. And, they're sitting there saying, "Oh, isn't it a little late? It's a school night for you guys. Shouldn't you, be home or something, past curfew or whatever." And then they speed off, and Ken revs up his motorcycle and darts down the road, and these guys stop at this bar, and Ken and Ryu happen to stop at the same bar. Notice that they parked their Jeep or Hummer or whatever it was there, and they park it and go in with all these females. It's a whole truckload of these Air Force and military guys, and it's really interesting. And then they go in the bar, and Ryu's like, "Ken, what are you doing? We can't go into the bar. We're not old enough," because in the title cards it states that they're 17. They're both 17 years old. And the bodyguard actually stops them when they walk inside and says, "Hey, don't you guys have your IDs? You guys look way too young to be here. Isn't it a school night for you?" They always have to poke fun at their age and stuff. And Ken is like, "Yeah, I know we look young, but we're actually 21. And he's like, "I don't believe that unless you show me some IDs." And the guy ends up showing him, or Ken actually ends up showing the guy, and his quote-unquote ID, which is a $100 bill. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I think you guys do have the right IDs." And they go to sit down. Ken drinks Evian water, which it's actually a knockoff in the show called Avion, with an A instead of an E, like the real water here. It's a spring water. You can get it at grocery stores or local gas stations, is what I meant to say, not grocery stores. I don't know, grocery stores might sell it, but anyway, he's drinking that. He drinks that quite a bit throughout this show, or at least the first episode. And, he walks up to this girl, and he's drinking this water. And he walks up to this girl, whispers something to her, sits down with her, and because these guys from the military are there, and he takes one of their girls, and that pisses this one guy off. So he comes up to him, and he's like, "Hey, I think her name's Lola or something," and he's like, "Hey, Lola, you need to get back here." And then he's like, "Can't you see the lady's with us now?" or whatever. And this one guy at this other table whispers something like, "Man, the Air Force got shot down by some kid." And that really pisses this guy off, so he goes up to their table and says, "Look, kid, I don't know who the hell you think you are, And all of a sudden, Ken's remarks something. And this Air Force guy, again, with the show not having really any restrictions, just goes, "I'm gonna kick your ass." And then all of a sudden, you see him in this cutscene throw a punch, and oh man, and Ken and Ryu just get in on it, and it's really cool. And then after they kick everybody's ass, Ken and Ryu kick all the dudes' asses, and then you see these footsteps from these boots coming towards this door, and all of a sudden you see the door open, and boom, and then all of a sudden it shows from like an abdomen shot up, and it ends up being Guile, or Colonel Guile, or whoever, from, obviously Street Fighter 2. And then at the end of the episode, they do like this freeze frame, and then it shows this blue version of the freeze frame. And then it says, the next episode, blah, 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 which I will explain in the next episode review. But it really is cool how they ended it, because they ended it as a cliffhanger. It's just these two Street Fighter characters, and at the end you actually see someone who's not just friends, buddy, haha. It's, we're gonna get ready and we're gonna fucking brawl. And it was just awesome. So overall, it ends up playing the credits and then, plays into the next episode. Um, Overall, I can't fault this episode, to be honest. There's really no real poor voice acting, except for maybe the girl. It's just a little bit off, but for what it is for its time, especially when American anime, anime coming to America and being dubbed, there's not that many people who really dubbed anime back then. So for what it is very, very well done in my opinion. Overall, I'm going to have to give this episode a 10 out of 10 because there's really only one character, and even then that wasn't that bad. There really wasn't anything to fault in this episode. That doesn't mean I'm going to give it 10 out of 10 for every episode. There are going to probably be some minor things I have to complain about, but nothing too major. So overall, I'm going to have to give this episode a 10 out of 10. Thanks for watching, guys. If I ever need to make this a little bit better, I'll try and fix them in future videos. So, again, thanks you guys for watching, and I will catch you all in the next review. Thanks for watching.